Hey guys, I've got some fall DIYs for you today. Let's jump into it. For this first one, you'll need one of these little tinsel jack-o'-lanterns from the Dollar Tree, but really any pumpkin that you can find would be good because we're just going to be covering it. These pumpkin forms come in half, but it's okay, they're all like that. You'll just want to put a few dots of glue and glue it together, and then also cut off those little knobs. I took some white fabric and cut it into strips, just some cheap white fabric that I had, and I'm going to cover the pumpkin, and it doesn't have to be perfect because this is just our underneath layer. I have this shirt that I got from Goodwill. I often go through Goodwill just scanning for unique looking fabric on shirts, and especially if they're on sale that day, I'll grab them just to use the fabric on them. I just cut off a piece big enough to go over our pumpkin completely, and I cut a slit in the center of it to slip over the stem. I'm just going to make some pleats on the pumpkin, folding it over a little bit to gather the excess together, and then I'll hot glue it inside the underneath of the pumpkin. The Dollar Tree sells lace doilies that are white and ivory, and so that would make a great replacement if you don't have any lace fabric. To cover up the underneath of the pumpkin where there's the opening, and also to make it a little more stable, I'm going to cover a little wood round that I cut out of a craft stick and just cover in the same lace fabric to make the bottom look better. You can cover the stem in whatever you'd like. I thought about twine, but I opted to go with this sort of orange goldish ribbon. I'm just going to hot glue it, wrapping it around the stem. When I got to the top, I just sort of ran some hot glue along the top and pinched it together. I got this bag of pine cones. They're scented from the Dollar Tree this year, and they have these little dried leaves in them that have been painted gold. And I just added one to the side of the stem. And then I also have this little mini pine cone, and I'm going to add it as an embellishment as well. I wanted to make a curly vine, but wanted it to match the ribbon. So I'm just taking some of this floral wire from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to sandwich it inside of some of this ribbon using some hot glue to create my own wired ribbon. And it's sort of off screen here, I apologize for that, but I'm just wrapping it around the end of a paintbrush to make a curl. This next DIY is really fun. I'm certainly not the first person to make a jar scarecrow, but I tried to put my own spin on it. I just took this jar from the Dollar Tree and it had "Congrats Grad" on it, and I just scraped that lettering off with a Dollar Tree scraper. I used a marker to draw the mouth before I painted the jar because I don't want to put paint where the mouth is. I want to be able to still see through the jar to see into the jar where his mouth is. I'm painting the jar in Cashew by Waverly, and it took 3 coats to do a really good coverage. I got this bell ornament from the Dollar Tree, and I just took the tinsel off and cut it in half, and I'm going to use one of the bells to be the form for our Scarecrow's hat. I'm just cutting off some of the knobs and cleaning up the shape, and then I'll glue it together. I'm using this luau skirt raffia from the Dollar Tree and cutting some little short pieces, and I'm also cutting some longer pieces but ended up not using those. But I'm just going to glue the short pieces all the way around our lid to our jar, and if you're using a regular canning jar, this would work for it as well. I was going to do longer hair on the sides and back and have him have bangs, but I didn't. I thought maybe he would end up looking like Garth from Wayne's World, so I opted out of doing that and just gave him the same length the whole way around. But you could give him any style of hair that you want. I have this canvas drop cloth that y'all have seen me use in a lot of DIYs on this channel. The thing was huge. It's an old painting drop cloth from the Home Depot. And I'm just going to cut out a circle a good bit larger than the lid, and better it to be too big than too small because you could trim it up later, and just gluing that in the center. And this is the bottom of our hat, the brim. And then I'm just taking our bell shape and I'm going to glue the drop cloth to it as well. Once I get the top of the hat wrapped, I'll just glue the excess on the bottom here up underneath our bell shape. And leave the top of the hat open if you want to stick some raffia down in it like I did. I wanted the hat to stand up more, sort of like the Scarecrow off of Wizard of Oz. A little bit different than the last Scarecrow thing I made, but I did want the top to flop over just a little bit, so I pushed it over and glued it down to where it was bent over just a little. Then we're just gluing the top of the hat to the brim of the hat, and that's it for the hat. Because we made the hat and the hair all its own thing on the lid, it's going to be easy to remove the lid to put stuff down inside of it. I'm using these wood buttons from Walmart, and I'm just going to give them a coat of antique Waverly wax so that they're a good bit darker than the Scarecrow's skin, so they'll pop. I wasn't recording when I drew the nose and glued the eyes on, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I just used some hot glue to put the eyes on, being careful not to put too much glue where the holes are so the glue wouldn't seep through the holes. And then I'm just going to color in the nose with the color Pumpkin Waverly chalk paint. Most of us have this burlap ribbon with the lace on top of it from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut off part of the burlap ribbon that doesn't have lace on it. I had pulled it off of a section just to use the lace on another project. And I'm going to fray the edges a little bit just by pulling out some strands of the burlap to make a little patch to put on the Scarecrow's hat. And I ended up making two of these to put two patches on his hat in two different places. I'm just gluing some twine along the top of the brim of the hat where the top part of the hat meets the brim. Then I'm going to tie a simple knot and the twine, a piece of extra twine, and just glue it onto the hat to make it look like that's where the piece of twine is tied. Now I'm using a brown Sharpie marker to outline the mouth and the stitching on the corners of his mouth. And we will also put some stitching on the nose. You can put anything in the jar that you like to show through inside the mouth. I put candy corn in there, but you could put other types of candy or just stick some extra raffia down in there. That would be cute as well to look like his stuffing. This last DIY is quick and easy. You will need one of these 8x10 crafter square canvases. I'm just going to remove the canvas, but be careful to keep it undamaged because we're going to be printing on it. I will be cutting out the front of the canvas along the bend. You could leave the frame natural, but I'm going to give it a coat of antique wax. I will leave the link to this image in the description box below. I just took some painter's tape and taped the canvas to a piece of cardstock to run it through the printer, printing the cover of this Saturday Evening Post from 1903. Sorry. It was the Thanksgiving edition. And I'm just going to hot glue the frame to the front of the canvas. I had some excess canvas hanging over the edge, so I'm just going to take my box cutter and clean that up. Thank you so much for watching today, and a big thank you to my subscribers. I can't believe I hit 1,000 recently. I will be doing a giveaway in the next few weeks to celebrate that, so keep an ear out for that. I hope you all have a wonderful day. See you next time.